All right. We're good to go.
Hi, Hunter.
Hey there.
How you doing?
Good.
So, my kids always accuse me. Well, not now. When they were younger, they always accused me of asking them a ton of questions. And they looked at it as, oh, Dad's trying to control us. He's asking all these questions and blah, 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 blah. But it was more curiosity, And so
You weren't questioning, you were asking questions.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wasn't questioning, I was asking questions. So I actually typed out a bunch of questions for you about Artistic Warrior.
Okay.
And hopefully, one, it helps me learn more about the concept and hopefully helps the audience learn more about the concept. We talked a lot last week about the mindset of the Artistic Warrior, right?
That is really good.
Do you like it?
Yeah.
All right. So it is Hard Truth Distillery's Peanut Brittle Bourbon Cream. And it is from Brown County, Indiana.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Wisconsin because I grew up in Brown County.
Did you?
Green Bay's part of Brown County.
It's Brown County, Indiana. I figured it's a good cigar drink. Yeah, my sister got it for me. We talked a lot about the, Artistic Warrior mindset.
Yeah.
So I think I want to talk about how to, it's not a word, but we're going to make it a word, actionize Artistic Warrior.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I want to get through, hopefully we can get through all these questions. So, but if we go off on tangents, we go off on tangents, right?
Yeah.
Why don't you quickly, couple sentence, define Artistic Warrior again?
So the Artistic Warrior is the creative, capable Christian man who's most of the time, just because I can speak for myself, wrestling in those areas of his life, and especially on the walk that he is with God. And he's somewhat impatient because he wants to do one thing, but God has him doing multiple things.
Right.
And it's just trying to, A, learn that you don't have to choose. And then B, constantly trying to integrate balance into his life, which is difficult. It comes in now we're already going into a bit of a tangent because that's one thing that as a sprinter I have to do. And it's called a 4-burner theory. So different periods of the year, my training looks different. So right now, since I'm in football season, so imagine you have 4 burners on a stove, right?
Yeah.
And they can't all be on full blast at the same time. Well, they could in theory, but for what I'm saying right now.
Right.
So right now, since I'm in football season, the strength training burner is burning way hotter than the max velocity 100 and 400 meter degree burner.
Yeah.
And so it's just at certain times of the year, you just have to manipulate the burners in terms of which level they're on. And I think you can extrapolate that onto the Artistic Warrior's life. It's like, okay, here's my job, here's my creative outlet, here's my physical outlet, here's family, and it's constantly having to, almost like you're kind of orchestrating this grand symphony.
Right.
Like, how do you make it all sing and come together and coalesce the way that it needs to?
Yeah. So. My wife and I talk about that sometimes. We talk about, we refer to it as quadrants. A, B, C, D. Okay, is this part of something that we got to do? Is this a quadrant A? Is it a quadrant B, a C? Quadrant D is like, we can forget about it. And a quadrant A is, this is going to have immediate impact, high priority.
Yep.
So it's kind of the same concept.
Yeah.
What does living as an artistic warrior look like day to day?
For me, it's getting up. And again, this fluctuates based on the time of year as well. When in the best seasons where I feel like I have the most control over my life, it's up at 5 and then straight into a freezing cold shower. And after that, then spending about half an hour at least, sometimes more than that, with God and the Word and journaling. And then from there, I'm going right into the next work in progress, which is the book, my second book that I'm writing right now. And then from there, you're going to the track or the weight room, whatever the training session calls for that day before you go to work. And then I'm usually home around 8:30 and having dinner and then reading before I retire to bed and do it all over again the next day. And so that's a perfect world. But even the day to day is like, it's not easy to get to go into a cold shower every day. Even though I do it every day, I never look forward to it. And even on the weekends, like when I'm not working today, there's times where I'm sure I'll have it again tomorrow. It's like, oh, it's Sunday, you slept in, you rest. Then you try and bullshit with yourself and rationalize, why don't you just, take it easy on yourself, just rest a little bit. And then I always remind myself, well, no, because if I didn't get into a freezing cold shower right now, then I would be full of shit.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that, and especially a lot of Christians think that I'm a Christian, everything's easy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So when did you first realize this way of life mattered?
The idea came to me in 2021 when we had first moved into this house. Okay. And I had a lot of time in my hands because I had built up a successful online consulting business. Yep. And so that didn't really require a whole lot of my time. It was effectively mailbox money. And so then I had just ample time to crank up the creativity burner. And then I was reading something about Pressfield, Stephen Pressfield, who we've talked about. And he talked about how a warrior has an artistic mindset and they kind of bleed into one another. And then I'm just like, whoa. There's an amalgam between the two. And then I just started drawing, and because I'm a big believer in the hero's journey, and that's what the logo is the hero's journey is always a circle, and then the A and the W are superimposed in one another. And that's how it came to me from there. And so I guess to answer your question, summer of 2021, and I've spent the past 5 years trying to figure out myself, and then that's the messaging, and the whole shtick of Artistic Warrior has become clearer and clearer the more that this thing has marinated the past 5 years.
So what problem does the Artistic Warrior mindset solve for men?
Oh, that he doesn't need to choose. That he doesn't need to choose. Balance. Yeah. And so that was always one of my forms of self-sabotage, is picking one thing, an inch deep and an inch wide and a mile deep. And I would just develop symptoms, right? If I don't write for a while, I get cranky. If I don't work out for a while, that's a problem. Mm-hmm. Or if I'm not putting God first, he reminds me of that. Yeah. Right? So it's just coming to grips with that. You don't have to choose, and then from there, that's the first battle. And then the second battle after that is, okay, how do you balance everything? And that's difficult. You have to have a lot of self-awareness, but then you also have to give yourself grace, knowing that balance looks different in different seasons. So I'm in football season. Balance looks different now than when I'm not in football season.
That's the four-burner thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm going to skip over these because you answered them. Why is creativity important for strong men?
How strong do you think God is?
Yeah, but I mean,
he's a creator.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's a great answer, because I think a lot of guys, especially, think that the artsy fartsy,
is weak.
Yeah, is weak. Mm-hmm. And so the God is a creator. I think that's great. But I also think strong leaders are creators.
I think they have to be.
Yeah.
I think they have to be. And the more that you delve into the artsy fartsy side, the more not only do you learn about yourself, but then you become more, maybe if you're a writer, more articulate. Because if you're articulate, then you're already leaps and bounds ahead of your peers.
Oh yeah.
So, because communication isn't even a skill set; it's a kill set.
Right.
If you can communicate, you're going to kill it.
So I like digital media and technology and all of that. Right.
Yeah.
But I bring it. Yeah. I have a lot of these, but I also like writing.
Yeah.
And that's a little, just whatever. Something hits my head and I jot it down.
Yeah, and so like I said,
and that's creative. And I think how can, that leads into my next question, and maybe I answered it myself, but how can a busy man, because we're all busy.
Yeah.
How can a busy man build creativity into their life?
This is a story that I shared with,
or into his week. Let's say into his week.
This is a story that I shared with a friend of mine who's also a writer who constantly gets in his own way of writing a damn book.
Right. I think we talked about it.
Yeah. And I told him, I said, Stephen Pressfield said to me once that when he was up and coming, trying to become a full-time novelist and get his big break, he was so busy trying to pay the bills and do everything else that somebody else does who's an aspiring author that he only had about an hour a day to write. Fast forward to now Stephen Pressfield being Stephen Pressfield, with all the book tours and podcasts and marketing he's constantly having to do for the next book that he's writing. He's got about an hour a day.
Right.
Yeah. So it's you're never going to get any more time than you already have right now. It's because your time's only going to become more and more scarce. The better and more notorious you become for whatever it is that you're trying to do. So if it's a half an hour, then that's all you've got. But a half an hour compounded every day over time it's just like working out. I mean, it's better than nothing. And it's not about what you can do. It's about what you can be consistent with.
Consistency.
Yeah.
Consistency is key. How many, what's the statistic about it takes X amount of time to develop a habit?
66 days.
Is it 66?
66 days. I think that's coming right out of James Clear's books.
Is that it?
Atomic Habits. Yeah. 66 days.
Atomic Habits, yeah.
66 days to develop a habit.
Yeah. So for the first 66 days, set yourself a goal like, I am going to do something creative every day. Even if you say, I'm going to do something creative every day for 15 minutes at 8:30 p.m., right?
Yeah, what we would do is whenever, I don't forget who I was talking to about this, but whenever somebody comes to me about stuff like this, David, I always tell them to reduce it to the ridiculous. Meaning, write for 5 minutes.
Good.
Well, I mean, yeah, I can do. Well, are you? Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, right here as an example, I have a speech coming up on March 16th, and it says the fourth line in there, speech practice 3 times. I wanted to write 5, but this morning I was like, better reduce it to the ridiculous, because I know I can do it 3 times. I know I've already done it twice. Like I won't.
So then you do it 3 times, and you say, you know what, I'm going to do it 2 more times.
Yes. Well. So you because if you by reducing it to the ridiculous, you're increasing the likelihood of keeping that promise to yourself. And the more promises you keep to yourself, that's how you develop confidence. Because I think that might be all in one level of analysis, talking like Jordan Peterson now, at one level of analysis, I think that's what all confidence is how good you are at keeping promises to yourself.
Yeah. And I think it's really easy for men to break promises to themselves because life intrudes. And, I mean, my mindset, and I think a lot of men's mindset is we have to deal with, solve, and take care of life.
That's true.
Right.
That's why it's the top of my core values, responsibility. But underneath is balance.
Right.
Yeah.
So you gotta allow yourself, I talk about this a lot as the rest side. Rest doesn't necessarily mean shutting off the lights and laying down, going to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Rest may mean, sitting at your desk, sitting in a chair, sitting, and just writing your thoughts for 5 minutes.
It's incredible what you'll find out about yourself.
Right.
Stephen King said it. I say it. I said it to our defensive coordinator before. I think it was at the end of our last game, or I think it was at the end of our last game. And he was talking to me about how he wants to write a book, and how he just said he hates the process of writing, and because he was just getting all caught up in his thoughts and all of those things. And I said, yeah, but coach, you don't write what you think. You write to find out what you think.
Right. So, I'm going to share a little bit here. When I was a teenager, I wrote for our local newspaper. And I like to wrote for our local newspaper, to kind of got that little bit of a journalism bug, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't want to say life got in the way, but responsibilities manifested themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would still, it's like, okay, I'm going to write out a work presentation, or I'm going to write out a business plan or something. So in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I'm still writing. Yeah. But I think it was you and this book that kind of spurred me on to, I should really dig deeper into this.
Right.
And you're the one that spurred it on to write, the book that I'm writing.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like, hopefully this conversations that we're having will spur people on, and the first step is picking up the pen or, the phone or something and jotting some notes.
Yeah, like he talks about in the opening pages of the War of Art. Writing isn't hard. Sitting down to write is hard.
Yeah. How does a man build grit when life gets hard?
Oh, do hard things. Do hard things. Because what is hard? Hard is a perception. I would say in most cases, especially for us here in the United States. Hard is a perception.
Is that a third world thing, first world problem?
Yeah, hard is a perception. And when you voluntarily choose to do really hard things, maybe it is taking a cold shower. Maybe it is running 3 200-meter dashes with only a 4-minute break in between each one. And then you're seeing God at the end of the third one. And what in the hell did you just do that to yourself? But afterwards, you realize how easy life is. Because I'm telling you, man, like you run a 400-meter dash in under 60 seconds, everything else is easy. Everything else is easy. And that's why I'm such a huge proponent of working out. And it has nothing to do with the physical. Do I like being big and strong and fast? Hell yeah. But that's just a byproduct. I do it for between my ears to overcome myself.
How does faith shape the artistic warrior?
Well, faith shapes the artistic warrior because you know that you're creating things not of this world, but in it. And you know that when you submit to him, you're no longer playing the instrument. You're no longer doing any of those things. You become the instrument. And then that's when I think the real magic happens, so to speak. There are times where I'll read something in here, or, not too long ago, David, I wrote an article about building the ultimate American football player 10 years ago on simplyfaster.com. The University of Cincinnati strength staff called me about 2 months ago to talk about that article.
From 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Oh, that's cool.
And so I say that to say, that's when I was in the throes of the strength and conditioning industry. And so everything that I was writing was about bigger, faster, stronger. And so when I would sit behind a keyboard and do that, I just let loose. And that article still was circulating. And I have to believe it's because when we submit, when we let go and let God, as the saying goes, then we become the instrument. And that's when we produce things that are not of this world, but in it.
What character traits? And I say this to you all the time. You know that. I always say, guard your heart, guard your heart, guard your heart. What character traits must a man, an artistic warrior, guard the most?
We talked a little bit about it last time, but and that's why responsibility is at the top of my core values. You have a responsibility. Responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
You have a duty. And when you chase those things, your dreams chase you. And so it's kind of like that's somewhat a euphemism to what Jesus says. When you seek first the kingdom, everything else will be added unto you.
Yeah.
And so when you focus on his business, he focuses on yours. In my opinion.
How does a man stay humble while chasing excellence? I think sometimes men especially, especially when we have some success, think we're all that in a bag of chips.
Right.
But how do you stay humble while chasing excellence?
It's the theme of my next speech that I'm giving, which is excellence through empowerment. It's all about everybody that you bring up along with you.
Yeah.
And that's really how to have success, I think, not only in fast food, but maybe in business in general, is just identifying individuals who raise their hand and say, I want to be more. And you say, okay, great. I'm going to start pouring into you.
So a good measurement of success is how many people you've lifted.
Yeah, that's the game. That's the game.
Right.
I'm constantly trying to work myself out of a job.
We say that a lot, don't we?
Mm-hmm. That's the game.
Yeah. What mistakes do you think men make most while trying to grow?
What mistakes do I think men make most when trying to grow? My knee-jerk reaction was going to say biting off more than you can chew, but I don't know if I necessarily believe that, because I think for somebody like myself, I know that's how I do grow, is biting off more than I can chew. Because when I stop growing is when I'm bored.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Sometimes when I'm at my best is when I'm most uncomfortable. And so I think it actually is that you need to bite off more than you can chew. And so maybe then the answer to your question then is by seeking comfort.
Yeah. So my answer to that is resting on your own laurels. Oh, I've had great success here. I'm gonna coast.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of guys coast.
I think the majority do.
Yeah.
I think the majority do. And I think that's why there are so few men right now. And I think that's why there are so many wives who are parents to their husbands right now.
Which is kind of the theme of your
second book.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, just guys just haven't grown the hell up. And it's a really sad state of affairs. Men aren't men anymore for the most part. And I hope something changes.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, we've talked about this a lot, and I think it's a statistic that bears repeating because I think it's a great statistic. It's something that excites me, is that, and I've heard this from a lot of different sources, but that Gen Z men are probably the most, especially in terms of faith, statistically is the most faith-focused generation ever. Gen Z men.
And what is Gen Z? When were they born?
Well, you're in Gen Z, so I'm going to have
90s?
to look. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. That group of men are probably the most focused in terms of faith and even leadership, and by leadership I mean leadership, their influence sphere, home, work, family, those, their leaders, their influence sphere, they're probably the most faith focused men.
I didn't think you were going to go that way. I thought you were going to say the most, the faithless.
No.
The most faithless.
No. But in the reverse, Gen Z women are the exact opposite.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that based on just what my wife and I went through. I mean, because she grew up on the belief that God helps those who help themselves. And during my time...
Where does that say that in the Bible?
Right. My time of maturation during the summer of 2023, what was I being told to? Be still.
Yeah.
So you can imagine how that went over.
Yeah.
Well, honey, God's telling me to do this. Excuse you.
Yeah.
Right? That's not me throwing her under the bus. I'm just saying they're making a point. It's like
we just so you know, we have great wives. Both of us.
Best. So, but that doesn't strike me at all for that reason, because women are having to do everything. And I think that's because of necessity, because of the way that men are, but also because of the way that society is attacking masculinity.
Right.
And
attacking masculinity and selling, I would say, a false bill of goods.
Selling a false bill of goods, wolves in sheep's clothing.
Right.
Putting up the Jezebels instead of the Ruths.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yep.
I want to stay on this mistakes thing.
Okay. Yeah.
So what habit slowly destroy a man's focus and strength?
Instant gratification.
Mm-hmm.
Insulin resistance.
Yeah.
I would say those two things big time. Instant gratification, so constantly being on a phone, and what are you putting in your mouth, right? Because over time, I do think a lot of our diets, especially with men, men just eat like children today, and I think that's a huge problem. Which is again why I'm such a huge proponent of getting your physicality under your control. Like, who's in control? Is the body in control, or are you? Right? Mm-hmm. Because a lot of the men walking around today, it's like, okay, well, you can tell who's obviously in control, and it ain't you. Right? It's your stomach. And I mean, Matthew 4:4 and Luke 4:4, which I think is so funny. Both same exact verse, same exact chapter in the gospel. Man shall not live on bread alone, but on every word of the mouth of God. Same chapter and verse, two different gospels.
That's great.
Yeah.
And written by two different authors.
Yeah.
At two different times.
Yes. And so, yeah, I think that would be it for sure, is instant gratification.
So let's go on instant gratification, because obviously, if you haven't figured it out, Hunter and I are from two different generations, right? So I did not grow up with instantaneous gratification as your generation, the generations after you are, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. We didn't have cell phones, or computers or that kind of thing. So how can guys, but I find, it's something I fight now, that, this is something we didn't have. And now it's like, I want it. But how can we break that habit of instantaneous gratification? How can we learn to delay?
Two easiest ways to start doing that would be, how's my car right now? It's backed in.
Yeah.
Right? Back your car in. Okay, just taking the time to back your vehicle in, and so then when whoever you're going to your next place, you just get in and go. Taking that extra time to just the extra 10 seconds to back your vehicle in, so then that sets you up for your next path to just hit the ground running, so to speak. I would start backing your car in, and the next thing I would do, and we do it here in this house, is we delay brew our coffee. Sounds really stupid. I'm just telling you. Back your car in and delay brew your coffee for the next day. Because when you get up at 5 and the coffee isn't ready yet, I'm telling you, when you're half asleep going out into the kitchen and having to make the coffee and do all those things, not only is it a waste of time, but it's just, you don't want to, I mean, that's the last thing you want to do. But when you get up in the morning, you smell the coffee, it's already been made, you've already set yourself up for a win that day.
But is that instantaneous gratification, though? I know when I wake up, I'm going to walk in the kitchen and instantaneously there's that cup of coffee.
Yeah, because discipline starts the day before.
Okay. So you're delaying. Okay. You went through all the process the night before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those two things, that's, yep. Back it in and delay brew your coffee. Easiest ways. People think it's stupid. You know what's interesting though is that my team at my store, they back their cars in
Do they?
to the lot, and I haven't said anything about it to anybody. They just all do it now, and it's super cool.
So, from a leadership standpoint, from a franchisee business owner standpoint, I knew going into it that, and I think this is a mistake a lot of franchisees make, is that we would not have success our first few years. And I had to, and I think a lot of people that are going into business don't plan for not being successful immediately, especially now. You know, that instantaneous gratification. So like if you're looking at a business or a blog or writing a book or anything, painting a picture, it's going to take you some time.
Yeah, I'd say 2 years at least. Just bank on 2 years. This book came out on October 11th of 24. Second book isn't out yet,
right?
So it might be by the time the second book comes out, it might be 2 years since the last one did. Because that's how long it takes.
Yeah,
I mean, 20 drafts takes time. Not to mention the pre-publishing and then the publishing schedule and then the book tours and then the signings and all those things. Like it takes time. And so I guess you just have to ask yourself: do you want to do and or be something great, or do you not? I mean, yeah, greatness, if you don't want to be great, a lot of crappy stuff can happen very quickly.
Yeah, exactly my point is that you need to, but you also have to put that goal out there.
Yeah, just like, it's getting realistic about your time horizon.
And I think it's harder and harder. It becomes harder and harder for men now. You know, like I think it becomes harder and harder for men now. I mean, you know, that old saying about, you know, when's the best time to start something? Yesterday. You know, second best time to start something is today.
Mm-hmm.
But my great-grandfather planted, maybe it was my great-grandfather planted a bunch of, you and I have talked about this, you know, he planted some little seedling maple trees, you know, on his property, and the property's still in the family, but he planted these maple trees on his property. He was never going to live long enough to enjoy those trees. But my children, his great granddaughters, climb those trees now. My grandsons climb those trees now. You know, and I think that sometimes what we're doing now, hopefully we'll see an impact from, but we may not.
No.
You know, we're sowing seeds for the future. And I think a lot of men are problem solvers. You know, we want to see it solved. Next, move on, you know.
But there is a way that you can have your cake and eat it too when it comes to just that.
All right, tell me.
Get into fast food.
Right.
I'm living proof of that. I like get into fast food. Relatively speaking, things can move. Your life can change completely.
Mine did.
It can change completely.
Yeah. Mine
did.
And
so yeah, it's like, yeah, I mean, you do need to be realistic about your time horizons, but there is one industry that things can move way faster than you ever thought, and that's fast food. So, yeah, there's your plug.
But don't think that, you know, I am going to, not everybody's a hunter, all right? But you can be. But don't think that you're going to go into fast food today and tomorrow you'll be the manager. But let me.
Everybody might not be hunter, and that's fine. I think that's part of my moral obligation to be in the position that I'm in now is to say, hey, you might not be me. That's fine. Do this, and you can be right where I am. If not even faster and better, because I can tell you where the potholes are. Don't step there, right?
Right. But you can rise to, you can soar faster in QSR than almost any other industry.
And when people understand that, that is a bull seeing red for me. Like I talked to you about, one of the stores that I used to manage with the concept that I'm in now, 19-year-old kid, he's a manager. And now he texted me this morning. He said, hey, he calls me boss, BAWSS. He said, here you go, boss. And
he uses that Jersey accent.
Oh yeah, he does. And he texted me this checklist for what needs to happen from a critical behaviors and a critical fundamental standpoint to be an AGM. At 19, I'm all over that.
Yeah,
I'm all over that. Wait a minute. Okay, you could be making $57,000 as a 19-year-old. I'm on that like stink on shit. Yeah. Let's go. Come on, let's go. You want this? Let's go. Come on. Yeah. Absolutely. Right. And so, I mean, because when he becomes an AGM at 19 or 20, whatever it is, that's incredible. I mean, then if he's got somewhat of a head on his shoulders, he's set up, because then it's only a matter of time before he's an RGM. And then if he wants to stay in operations, probably only a matter of time before he becomes an AC. Or, hey, he can put on his resume AGM at 19. And so if he ever does leave the industry, that looks really good on a resume from a leadership standpoint.
Right.
Which is something that the world is starving for in general. Irregardless of fast food, the world needs more leaders, men especially, because that's kind of what we're talking about right now.
Right.
But I don't know what got me in that tangent, but.
No, I mean, that, you know, we've talked about this before. It's like you asked me, I mean, pretty point blank on the spot kind of thing. Why did you promote me? Right?
Yeah.
And I think I gave you 3 answers, but the number one was desire, right? So this kid is demonstrating to you his genuine desire to grow in the industry, right?
Yeah. And so out of the book, Traction, it's called How to Get a Grip on Your Business by Gino Wickman, I think. He talks about when identifying people, GWC. Do they get it? Do they want it? Do they have the capacity to do it?
Yeah.
And so this young man definitely has the capacity. He's 19. Right. He can go all day and night.
Right.
He wants it just by virtue of the fact of him sending me the checklist and saying, hey, boss, let's do this. Right. And now he just needs to get it.
And now you're going to help him get it.
I'm going to help him get it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the role of a leader, is to help the people that they're leading get it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can outline the want.
That one's got to be organic.
Right. And capacity, I go back and forth on that a little bit because I've identified people that were, 50s and 60s that had the capacity. So age,
There's a lot of nuance with capacity.
right. I think that's the most nuanced.
Yeah. Well, in terms of the nice thing about when somebody wants it, way easier to hold them accountable.
Yeah.
Well, you said you want this. Why didn't you do this?
Right. You want this. This is, and I'm going to show you how to get it. Mm-hmm. And the way I'm going to show you how to get it is A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. You got to do this. And along that way, the person they want it, and they may buck against the A, B, C, D, E. You just have to keep being persistent.
Yeah.
Right.
And they, when you hold them accountable to the things that they need to get done in order so they can get it, well, hopefully, my hope is that the more people that I can help lead to wherever they're trying to get to, AGM, whatever the case may be, that's just the conduit. What does Crispy actually want? That's his nickname. Like, what does he actually want? That remains to be seen. But I know that if he has more money and he's in a position of more influence and all of those things, well, he can get those things. Mm-hmm. Just like I do. I'm in a position of influence, and I have a successful track record. So the company that I work for is great in terms of allowing me to do those things. So I can go play football, I can go speak, I can go do this podcast, I can write, mm-hmm. and all those things. And so that's where I think this industry is incredibly unique, is because it allows the artistic warrior to really shine.
To me, this is a very important. Everybody knows we go off on tangents, but how does becoming an artistic warrior, and by coming, I mean not only from the beginning, but also to the end. I don't know if there's an end to artistic warrior because that's a constant. But how does becoming an artistic warrior change a man's family life?
Initially, it's probably way harder. Just speaking from my own experiences, we have a blended family. So initially things weren't very mm-hmm. smooth to begin with.
I mean, you could, but go as deep as you want.
But once you get your house in order, once you identify and live by those core values, responsibility, balance, and perseverance, then I think it's only a matter of time before you settle in and start to flow. Just like you would behind a page as you're writing, mm-hmm. just like you would on the track when you're sprinting, just like you would when you're on the line making food. You just kind of get in a rhythm, and that you get in that flow state, and everything just sort of comes to you. And I think that's part and parcel of what I talk about in the second book, which is when you chase your dreams, i.e. the artist and or the warrior side of artistic warrior, instead of your duty, you're not going to get either one. But when you chase your duty, i.e. responsibility, then your dreams start chasing you. And when those things happen, life gets way better. And for me personally, I have a wife that's crazy about me, and I have a son that's proud of me. That's crazy to me, because that's didn't used to be that way.
Right.
Didn't used to be that way.
How does it change his work and leadership style?
My son?
No, artistic warrior.
How does it change his work and leadership style?
Yeah.
Well, you realize that it's not about you. Like, who the hell said it's about you? But there's the rub. Because when you know it's not about you, when you start pouring into other individuals, excellence through empowerment, then all of a sudden, you're the one who starts getting exalted and getting the credit and getting more opportunities to do more things and getting promoted and getting closer to your dreams, or because they start chasing you because you're just trying to bring others along with you. Because that's the game. That's the game. Especially in this industry, it's so easy to just make it a career. It's not even funny. It's not even funny because the job isn't hard. Getting people to do the job is hard. And does that answer your question?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. So I'm asking the same question in a different way. As someone starts today, what are the first 3 steps? I want to become an artistic warrior. Hunters, I go to Hunter. You got this thing kind of figured out a little bit. And someone comes to you and says, I've been watching this. I like, the concept. I understand. I can kind of buy into it. What are the first 3 steps? What are the first 3 things you're going to tell me to do?
Put God first, go all in, and run your race.
Okay. Expand and expound. I know the put God first one.
Yep.
I think that's important.
Mm-hmm. So putting God first isn't just about reading the Bible every day first thing in the morning, although that's important.
Mm-hmm.
It's about making sure that you are putting nothing else ahead of him. It's about making sure that the next book doesn't become your God.
Mm-hmm.
It's about making sure that the prospect of you maybe ascending to a higher league in professional football doesn't become your God. Because that's something that I've wrestled with.
We've talked about this before. I wrestle with it. We all wrestle with it. It's like the next store I'm going to open up.
That's one of, if not my biggest spiritual maladies, is idolatry. So I'm constantly having to keep myself in check.
Do you think that's common in men?
Yeah, I think idolatry is common, followed up by a very close second being lust.
Yeah. I mean, statistically, lust is first.
Is it?
Yeah. Porn.
Yeah.
That statistically is probably...
That goes back to what we talked about before, the Jezebels.
Right.
Instead of the Ruths.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's something that guys wrestle with.
Instant gratification.
Right. But I think
you can just find a naked woman on your phone.
Right.
Instant gratification.
Yeah. But I think guys wrestle with idolatry without realizing
it's idolatry.
It's idolatry.
Yeah.
I'm going to go all in on QSR.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I'm speaking from experience, okay? I'm speaking from vast levels of experience about the QSR industry.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm going to go all in to...
You know what's ironic? Is because that's step 2 for me.
What?
Go all in.
Yeah.
I put God first, and then he put me in the QSR industry, and it's like, okay, I got to go all in on this.
Right.
Heard.
Yeah.
Heard.
But
QSR phrase.
But it wasn't idolatry because you were following, right? You heard the word.
Yep.
And you're following it.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So put God first, and then once you do that, it'll be very obvious. He'll make it extremely obvious where he wants you to be, and then go all in on that.
But if you go all in, so put God first, and he tells me to go all in on this, and I go all in on that without maintaining balance of keeping God first. And I think that's kind of a struggle right there.
It certainly can be, because it's very easy to make this job your God. because it's open 7 days a week.
20. I mean, I'm not saying this to scare people, but the QSR industry is 24/7, 365.
Mhm.
That's my experience. And that's why I talk about rest a lot, because you can, you can go all in it to the extent of, rest.
So that's number 2, is go all in. And so when you put God first, he'll make it very obvious where he wants you to be. And wherever he places you, whether that's a laundromat, life insurance, or QSR, whatever the case may be, then it is your obligation to go all in on that. And then when you do, run your race, because I know, comparison is the thief of joy. Where you and I were talking about this last night, or just 2 nights ago, whenever that was. It's like, I still think about the fact that a guy who was worth $600 million was my business partner.
Right.
And every now and then I'd be lying if I said I don't get down about that.
Yeah.
It's like I walked away from Mr. Dan S. Pena. And then I remind myself, well, okay, well, I mean, I need to run my race. This is my race.
Right.
I'm in QSR. I got to run my race. And so, and there's plenty of stories that talk about that in that book. So, but that would be it, is put God first, go all in, and then run your race.
I want to talk a little more about the run your race and comparison, because I think it's really easy in our industry, because we're very big on rack and stacks. For those that don't, we're very big on competing with different stores, right? And I don't think there's anything wrong with healthy competition. But don't.
If you want to compete, don't.
Playing. You like when I do that, don't you?
If you want to compete, don't. Like, so when I was on the Border Foods podcast and they were talking to me about how when I took over Zealand, we were in the 200s as far as trip rankings is concerned. Trip rankings being best of the best, people that go to Mexico, all that jazz. And then she said, you now are in the low 30s. I didn't freaking know that.
Yeah.
Like, because I'm not paying attention to that.
But
I'm paying attention to people like Crispy and other kids who raise their hand and say, I want to be more. It's like, okay, great, let's do it.
Yeah, I think it's.
And then the metrics take care of itself. The competition takes care of itself because you're not competing.
I think
you're running your race.
Run your race, run your location, run your store, run your position. Try not to, it's like, I've had multiple units. And, we do encourage a healthy competition between the units. However, I know that this location here is their revenue is going to be X because of their location, because of the demographics of their customer, because of, where they're positioned on the street, those kind of things. This is this store's ceiling. Mm-hmm. And I know that this store over here, their ceiling is a lot higher, right? Mm-hmm. But I get more excited about the store here with maybe a lower AUV, average unit volume ceiling, that leader in that store raised it to their ceiling. So that I'm just going to make up numbers. So let's say this store's AUV, their ceiling is 15,000.
For those not in the industry, AUV is average unit volume, sales.
Sales, yeah. So let's say this store, their average unit volume, based upon all the metrics that I have, this store should be doing $15,000 a week, right? And this store over here is doing 20,000. And this manager at this store is getting so frustrated because this store is doing 20 and I'm only doing 15, or I'm only, But let's say I know this store's sales are 15,000. I put a new leader in there and the store was yeah, I mean, you did this at Standhill. So, we talk a lot about pre and post COVID numbers, but so I had a store over here that sales were a lot higher than a location that you were at.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were always going to be higher.
Mm-hmm.
But you brought that store's sales up to way pre-COVID numbers.
Yeah.
So even though that store's sales were still lower than this store over here's sales were, there was more success at this location. Even though their AUV, their sales were lower, there was a lot more success. This store was more successful than store over here, even though their sales were a lot higher.
Yeah.
Run your race. Remember to focus on run your race. I think that's important. I mean, that competition kind of thing is important, but I think that people,
if you want to compete, and if you're an artistic warrior, if you want to compete, well, you should already have that outlet in your life carved out. For me, it's track and football.
Right.
Like, I don't compete when I go to work. I perform when I go to work. I compete and I play on the track and on the field. Like, work is not, I'm not competing.
Do you think that's something that men, we lose?
We forget how to have fun?
We forget how to play.
Yes, we forget how to play, because then we're constantly, yes. And that's what I talk about on the second book.
Right.
If you're stuck in a performance mode for too damn long, you do forget how to play. And then you wonder why you're in a perpetual state of anxiety and or depression, and wondering why you're using forms of escapism like smoking weed and all these other things, or binge eating like I've done as well, porn, right? Instant gratification, right? Play can be one of the healthiest forms of instant gratification, but we've forgotten how to do it.
And play for men doesn't necessarily have to mean go to the playground and swing on the swings, even though I do like to swing on swings. But it doesn't necessarily mean, it.
But it's okay. I mean, you just have to be, it's
okay to have fun.
Yeah. And be unapologetic about it.
Right.
And so if for you, that's whipping out the Sega Dreamcast and blowing the dust off of that thing and putting in Sonic Adventures 2, one of the greatest games of all time. Not Donkey Kong.
No.
Sonic Adventures 2, one of the greatest games of all time. Like, I was like, who was just talking to me last night? One of my team members at my store last night was talking about how they're bringing back a revamped version of Leaf Green and Fire Red, which are two Pokemon versions that were in the early 2000s. Like, shut up. Like, I'm all years in that. And now when I got home last night, I'm looking for this thing. Like, what device is this on? It's like, be unapologetic. If you like Pokemon and you're 35 years old, who effing cares? Run your race.
Right.
Right.
So, I'm not going to go into a tremendous amount of detail yet, but I became extremely fixated, maybe the right word. Fixated on the success of my stores, right? To the point where I mentally had to do something.
I'm proud of you for doing this, by the way. I'm proud of you for doing this, by the way.
I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but because I'm talking about games and playing.
Yep.
All right. So I sought out, talked to someone. And one of the first things, me as a 50-some-year-old guy, he said, here, I'm going to download a game onto your phone. He said, spend 10 minutes playing this game on your phone. He said, because when you're playing this game on your phone, you're not thinking and fixating and ruminating on this other stuff.
What was the game? Clash of Clans?
No. Chaos War or something. I still play it.
Chaos War.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, so it was a war game. And I'm like, is this really good? But when I did that, I wasn't thinking about anything else. What challenge would you give men listening today? Give them a challenge.
You know what's really interesting is because when I first came up with this and I was working with a business coach back then, his name is Jason Bloom. How are you doing, Jason? It's been a while. One of the things that he said that we should put together was called the Artistic Warrior Challenge.
Okay. What is it?
I don't know.
All right.
So I just thought that was so serendipitous of me to say that.
I mean, you've got, what's his name? Who's Murph? You've got the Murph, but that's the Murph is very physical. I don't know if that's artistic warrior. I mean, it goes to the body.
Certainly could be. Yeah.
But the Murph is a real challenging thing to do. But what one challenge that you would give the artistic warrior, and I've got one too.
You go first, since you know it, because I'm still thinking.
Okay. Everybody can carve out 5 or 10 minutes. Carve out 10 minutes every single day and write something down. Okay. I don't care. It doesn't matter what you write down. I mean, just carve out 10 minutes. If you're sitting at your desk, if you're, taking a break at work, if you're, at home, and sit down 10 minutes and just write something. I mean, write something.
Okay.
That's my challenge. And I mean, I do that every night. And
so
you do it. But what's one challenge?
One time I did a 72-hour fast because I wanted to hear the voice of God. Night 2 going into so I was, at that point, I was 50 hours in. So I was going to bed on the second night and having not eaten in 2 days. And I just couldn't get all of this chatter out of my head. And I'm sitting there lying on the pillow as I'm trying to fall asleep, and it's just this gnawing in my ears between them. And it's just saying, like, Lord, I did this to hear your voice. Like, what is this all about? And he said, you already know my voice. Whose voice do you think that is? And so then I was like, oh, got it. I ain't listening to that guy anymore.
Right.
And so that would be my challenge, is because if it's a 24 or a 48 or a 72, I actually think a 48 is easier than a 24. And so that would be my challenge, is do a fast of some kind. Got to be at least a 48. If you can do a 72, more power to you. It's hard, but you will be able to differentiate. If you don't hear God's voice, you will certainly hear the enemy's, and then you will know whose voice not to listen to, which might be just exactly what you need to get yourself on the right path, because you know which one to not listen to.
Okay.
For sure.
So there's your challenge. Write 10 minutes a day and fast.
There you go. But do not fast from this nectar of the gods.